Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, checking in on the cryptocurrency space. Not a long video, as not a whole lot has changed on the broader perspectives that we're looking at. We're still looking for daily lower highs to form to tell us that temporary tops have been set, and we know the daily trends have to change for us to see a distinct shift in momentum. Another update is we're going to be adding Link to the alert system over the weekend, but we're just going to do it slow. We're going to start with Coinbase only first, so I'll do the Coinbase chart here, and then once we have things settled in and haven't broken the system by overloading it, then we'll add some other exchanges like Binance. So Bitcoin, has our daily lower high been set? Too soon to say, can't say yet. We have a daily inside bar currently forming. If this does form, and when we break bearish into tomorrow, that would tell me yes, our daily lower high has been set, and the bulls then have to hold the low of $9,071 to try and form a daily higher low, and then change that daily trend. If the inside bar breaks bullish, that tells us no, we have not set the daily lower high yet. Anything under 13,202 is a daily lower high. So at this point, I'm back to watching the 12-hour time frame and watching to see, can the bulls form an inverse head and shoulders pattern? I posted this on TradingView this morning. We have the left shoulder, the head. We're now forming the right shoulder. If the bulls can turn this around and see a clear bull break over 10,800, and then ideally follow it up by breaking $11,080 as well to make it convincing, that will be a clear 12-hour inverse head and shoulders, and that will tell us that the bounce has not topped out yet. If, however, on the 4-hour time frame, if we were to drop down and attempt to bounce and then drop down to a lower low, that is when we would be looking for the daily temporary top to be set. So pretty much lose the 4-hour uptrend, the daily top is set, confirm the 12-hour inverse head and shoulders, and the top is not set just yet. We got a lot of volatility in the short term, and if you look at the 15-minute time frame, we have clearly the bears are playing defense. And we had a double top, 10,799, 10,777, and as soon as the bulls made that attempt, the bears squashed it down. Another big bull candlestick, the bears squashed it down. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of bots battling it out. And when we're choppy on the short-term time frame and we don't get a lot of clarity, that's when we want to zoom out and use the longer term and base our trade entries and exits based on longer-term perspective. And that may mean using smaller positions because the percentage differences between support and resistance are going to be more significant. But the last thing we want to be doing, unless we're scalping and it's going well, the last thing we want to be doing is getting chopped out and chopped up in this tightening range. And normally when we see daily inside bars form in the stock world, I look for choppy action on the short-term time frames, and I zoom out and I use the hourly. So we have a daily inside bar forming today. The 5-minute and 15-minute are choppy. Even the hourly is a little choppy for me. So sticking to the 4-hour and the 12-hour for clarity. So from there, we got Ethereum, same scenario, daily inside bar forming. Again, this is a daily bear flag. So daily bear flags get confirmed when we drop to lower lows. But we can call something a flag setup, and again, knowing the burden of proof is on the bulls, we have to see a clear break of 230 if we're going to not fall back down and test the recent low of 190.11. So I am calling this a daily bear flag, unless, doesn't mean it's going to confirm, but it tells us, all right, bulls, prove to us that this is not a daily bear flag. So we have a tightening range here as well, 4-hour time frame, pretty much the same inverse head and shoulders pattern is trying to set up here. The bulls would have to break 230 and 235.87 to confirm the longer term shift in momentum. That would tell us our daily top has not been set yet, and we would then shift our sights to the daily exponential resistance, which would be right around 240 tomorrow. If the top is not set yet for Bitcoin, we're going to be looking at the next resistance level up at, let's see, if we go to the 4-hour time frame, next clear resistance, we have one level at 11,484, and then 11,950 is the most clear level from there. So Ethereum BTC heading back down to the low. Now we got this range. We got the low of the pullback and the high of the bounce. If we drop down and break two pennies, it's still just lower lows. And if the bulls can hold 0.02 and break 0.022, that would be a little daily trend change, keeping in mind that the daily exponential resistance has to become support before we're confident in a shift of momentum taking place on the daily time frame. Litecoin, same thing. Daily inside bar, Bit of a different setup. Look at the 4-hour time frame. So that's how different Litecoin is compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin, and how much stronger the bounce was. If we were looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin, and if Litecoin were the same here, we'd be looking at this setup, and this is where we'd be right now. It's almost like Litecoin is ahead in the future. And again, there's plenty of times where people have pointed out that Litecoin is a lead indicator, and I don't doubt that in many instances. But this same pattern right here is pretty much right here is where we are on Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we'll just look at that again one more time. Let's line these all up so we have the comparison. So here's Litecoin. That's where we are on the other names. Litecoin's already far ahead. Ethereum, here we are. And Bitcoin, here we are. So distinct difference. So we're watching the 4-hour uptrend on Litecoin. That's not going to be lost anytime soon unless we dump. 89.01. Anything above that holds the higher low. And then we're looking back up at the recent high of 105 with 107 resistance shortly behind it as well. LTC BTC. So again, trying to change the daily trend. We have the low. We have not topped out yet because we have the daily inside bar forming. Pretty much the LTC BTC and the LTC USD charts are the same. And that's ideal if we can get both of those going in the same direction, because once the bulls show up, that's when we get that extra oomph of momentum to the upside. So have to change the daily trends, but we're not convinced that we've topped out yet on this Litecoin Bitcoin pairing move. XRP is a daily bear flag. Same thing as Ethereum. Bulls have to prove it. Prove that this is not a bear flag. The inverse head and shoulders pattern did attempt a little break here. Not much follow through at all. But again, it's a little bit forward in time, whereas Bitcoin and Ethereum are right about here. This pattern has developed a bit more significantly. 3272 is clear resistance, and our 4-hour uptrend to be watching, we have 3025 support, and now a higher low at 31. So time for the bulls to prove that this is not a daily bear flag, because it certainly looks like it at this point. Binance has to lose the 4-hour uptrend for our daily lower high to be established. 2680 is a support. Bulls are trying to form a higher low at 28.31. We've got resistance at 29.96. Might as well call that $30. And we got 31.54 as a resistance level as well. And just like everybody else, we have to change the daily trend with a higher low and higher high for a meaningful shift of momentum to be underway. Solid bull volume the last couple days. There's no doubt about that. That's some of the highest bull volume that we've seen in a while. Let's see if the bulls can change the daily trend. Keeping an eye on the exponential resistance, which have rejected the last half dozen attempts and is currently rejecting today's candlestick. LINK. So again, we're going to chart the Coinbase version, and if we were to break 205, we would then need to use a different exchange because we don't have enough price history in data. But with the alert system, we're going to be using Coinbase to start it off. So we'll stick with it here. Anything on the daily under 337 is just a lower high. Bulls have to change the daily trend here as well. If we break 205, we'll have 2 psychological, and then again, we'll go to the other exchanges for support. But bulls really want to hold this level and change the daily trend. Let's just look at it on a different exchange. So here on Binance, again, trying to form the weekly higher low right off the weekly exponential support or just above it. And now have to change the daily trend to give us confidence the weekly higher low has been established. So that's what we're watching. I'll update you all when it's officially added to the alert system, but should be sometime this weekend. And I appreciate you watching. 12-hour and 4-hour time frame for clarity. Is the bounce top set? Are we going to pull back and try and form daily higher lows? Or do the bulls have a little bit of momentum for some follow through and we have not topped out yet on our daily lower highs? That's the question that we're going to look to have answered in the next 6 to 18 hours. And I'll see you all tomorrow once we get that answer. Appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. So no video to wrap it up today, so I'll tell a couple stories from just observations around the pond. The first is involving the frogs. So the frogs that you've heard at the end of these videos are all the little ones, the little peepers. And the ones out back in the pond, or out front in the pond, are much different sounding. And rather than being the high chirp, it's more of a roar, roar, roar. And so I haven't been able to observe them because anytime you get close, they just jump into the water or they're easily disrupted. So I sat back about 50, 100 feet and was just hanging out in the grass and watched these 2 frogs where it was the middle of the daytime, but one of them was sitting on his lily pad, a smaller guy, and a big guy came up out of the water and they started yelling at each other with their big throats going at it. And the big one just would slowly approach the little one that was sitting on the lily pads. And then they got to a point and they went up like that and met stomach to stomach like two big sumo wrestlers. And they interlocked their arms and did these 3 big barrel rolls splashing all around. Then they disappeared under the water. And then the bigger of the frogs rose up to the top. I assume the other one swam away. And that was now his spot. So after observing, that's what they're yelling about. Now every time I hear them, pretty much all night, they're just establishing their territory and their own little nook of the pond to each other. So I can't stop from hearing now, this is my spot, stay away. And that's now the image I have of the frogs. Another observation about the language of the ducks, I'm starting to learn what their calls mean. After hanging out with the chickens for a long time, you get to know what all their calls mean. And for the ducks, it's the same thing. So now I know food please, where's mom, danger, all these different calls that they make. They have a good morning call as well. I guess that's similar to the where's food call. But mom goes and she'll leave them every now and again and fly away. And there's a bunch of ponds within a 300-yard radius. And so she'll go and check out and scout out the other areas. And they don't always stay in my yard. They go to the pond in a different yard and they'll disappear for a day or two before they come back. And so it's almost, I become a duck babysitter because they'll be out and exposed in the open eating food when mom's not around. And normally mom is, when they're eating, she lets them get all the food and she's just watching. And you can see her tilt her head up whenever there's a shadow or something that flies. She's looking up for the hawk. And so when they don't have that protection, they don't know it. They're still obliviously just wandering around. So mom will leave and I'll hang out with them when they're up in the open. And this morning when I open the door, I usually open the door in the morning and yell something out to the ducks and they come running up the lawn and I give them some food. But this morning they didn't do that. And as soon as I opened the door, they gave the danger call. And so I knew something was up. I didn't know what it was. But as I started to walk towards the pond, the hawk was perched right in the tree above them as they were in the water. And they were almost being, held captive in the water because they couldn't go anywhere or the hawk would come after them. So chased the hawk off. He flew away. And then what the mom does is when she comes back, she can't really fly in at an angle and skim on the pond because it's surrounded by trees. So she literally just dive bombs and she'll yell really loud. She'll honk that she's coming in and then watching the babies and the mom reunite every time. And all their happy chirping is a very fun thing. So those are observations in the world of nature. And we'll do a bed update. Hopefully next time we update the beds on Monday, they'll be a lot further along. Gonna go move some manure. See y'all next time.